Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the European LCS as we see Splice doing a fan meet. The poses of the boys are also in order, but
Coach is enjoying that way too much, but Yamato's giving his model stare to the camera right there. But
he's liking it. But we here got to dial in on our next matchup between Origen and ROCCAT, who are tied at 1 and 3. Of course, first got to start by talking about Origen. As said in the intro, a lot expected from them because they only had that one roster change. What is the biggest issue here?
I mean, I feel like a broken record out the intro show yesterday on PTL and today again, but it's an issue with communication only, and then some elements of individual play. But the most disturbing issue for me is just the communication. We had a couple of team fights where Sven ran to the top lane when it started, came back to the team fight, ran back top lane again. And everybody was oblivious to his positioning. And then, of course, we had Shook with some amazing catches on Power of Evil, who neglected to use his flash. But overall, it is a concerning habit that they're developing here on the side of Origen.
Especially when you toy into that, the fact that it's 4 players that were playing together in the World Semi-Finals last year. I mean, I don't feel like their mid laner changing should mess up everything in like Sven's mind, where he's like, hey, I'm just going to go top. I'm going to go and try and farm it. It feels almost like there's a lack of trust over the last couple of games. Whether it's just lack of practice to get that or not, we're not too sure on.
Yeah, actually, they did an AMA in the studio here earlier today, where they just talked to the fans. So obviously, it wasn't broadcasted, but Soaz got a similar question, and he said, because we were doing so well at Worlds and we were a unit for so long, we have a hard time adapting to newer patches because they played at Worlds, so long on the same patch, and then as a unit, then they had these like habits built into their core. They found it hard to adapt to the new patch. Perhaps that's true, but they really need to speed up that process because we're looking at 6.2 coming out soon, and then maybe multiple more patches, and you don't have time to wait to adapt.
Yep, and silver lining maybe in that though. Their opponents that they lost against are now 11 and 5 put together, so they have some of the harder teams to play behind them. So maybe that will make it easier for them. Let's move on to ROCCAT. They are also 1 and 3, and we've seen a lot of reactive play from them, is what we kept hearing from you, Mitch.
Yeah, well, week 1 I made the whole fridge comment. Then they blasted through the first game, won with Tarek, shut me up. But then the next few games they weren't that great. ROCCAT still struggling. Shining Light obviously is still Betsy, but as a team, they need to play the macro better, see if they can get some better shot calling in there, and get more proactive plays, because if you're reactive only, the better team will beat you.
Well, inherently, that should be possible, because if we look at their gold leads, they do get gold leads at 10 and 15 minutes, and Airwax and especially Betsy seem to make things happen, and that is a very different Betsy from who we've seen other couple of seasons. He's really taking that carry role.
Yeah, very different out of the Betsy we saw in the summer split. I mean, there was a lot of people talking about where Betsy fit in, and coming into this split, we were like, well, we look at this lineup, it's players that maybe didn't have the most success last year, but now Betsy not only is having good end-of-game stats, but he's starting to do very well at the early game as well, and that's the biggest difference. He's taking massive leads at 10 minutes, and that's not a Betsy we've seen before. He was even playing Ryze and getting these kind of leads, so it's good to see that ROCCAT have something that can, help them through this.
We'll see what he can make happen up against Power of Vivo and who can pull ahead in the standings. Let's check in with our casters.
Thank you very much, Shocks. As the teams load up, let's take a look at the lineup. Starting on the blue side, it is Origen, with Soaz in the top lane, amazing in the jungle. Power of Evil in the mid, with Sven and Miffy the duo. And the man in the orange tie is Hazel the coach.
Yeah, and of course we have ROCCAT on the other side with Steady Freddy up in the top lane. We have Airwax in the jungle. Betsy, one of the better mid laners in terms of stats at the moment in Europe. Safi as the AD carry. Extinct, of course, the new support because Eddie is gone for the moment. And Fresh is still the coach for ROCCAT.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about Extinct once we get into game, because this is a guy that's been around a very, very long time. I first learned him from Team Curse.
Played on NIP. From the past.
Yes, blast from the past. And supports, correct me if I'm wrong, was never his main role.
No.
At all.
I mean, maybe if we look all the way back in like early season 1 and so on. Possibly. He wasn't always a mid laner, because he was also a top laner for NIP when I played with him, which was very strange at first.
Unless I'm mistaken, I believe he was AD carry first, that then moved to mid lane, that then moved to top lane. So
he's been around.
He's doing a geographical tour of the Rift. We'll see how he performs in the support role in just a minute, because we are into picks and bans. So reminder, Kindred disabled. We are 6.1. Ryze and Tom Kench and Corki removed. So Lulu still up and available. Something we've seen a fair amount of.
Let's remember that Lulu in the last game had 0 impact, because teams are starting to figure out how to play against Lulu. She's still a fantastic pick, But I would almost say the likes of GP and so on are a lot higher value. Banning it. Tom Kench, honestly, for me, is equally as strong, as important to ban. And it's funny because OG bans Corki. So ROCCAT is afraid of a potential Kalista first pick.
Yeah.
So they decide to ban away. Now we have to go down to the second tier AD carries, which will be Lucian, which could be Ezreal, these kind of picks.
This has to be GP. Yeah.
Surely.
You would not give Soaz Gangplank.
OG is a team who is very good with Lulu, though. Because Source has always been a great Lulu top player when nobody else played it. But still, there are other picks, in my opinion, who has equal value to Lulu at the moment. I think Alistar is fantastic as one of them. Elise, now that Kindred is gone, or Graves. Like, these picks have fantastic impact on the game as well. And you can safely pick them early.
Well, Alistar will be the decision from Origen. Going to put that into Mithy's hands. Something he's incredibly capable with. 2 games played already, 1 win, 1 loss. But now what do ROCCAT take that is powerful at the moment and will also fit their playstyle? Elise, a jungler I know you love.
Yes.
And Poppy, which we're seeing top lane almost everywhere else in the world, predominantly.
Yeah.
And mostly support here in EU. We'll see if this starts changing. We saw some top last week as well.
Yeah, it should change up to be a top lane pick. Obviously, LPL was the first of the major regions to really start using top lane Poppy. LCK, the last week, has been picking it in almost every single game in the first rotation. Whenever possible. It is currently 10-3 in LCK as a top lane pick. So it is a very, very strong, great tank in the late game, good scaling, has a game-breaking ulti, honestly. A good ulti in a late game teamfight where you knock away 1 or 2 guys, and that's one for your team. So obviously she offers so many different things. Stun locking you, when she split pushes, like, Poppy late game is fantastic.
Game-changing ulti.
What if it breaks the game?
Well, if it hits the spectator far enough away, maybe it can.
Possibly.
Origen holding onto their solo lanes until the last rotation. Got themselves a safe AD carry that can scale up to all stages of the game in Lucian.
Yeah.
And Sven, very well known for basically anything that he plays. Last week's Kalista performances really stood out. Hence the ban earlier.
And no surprise when we have 2 AD carry bans. It's also one of the things I like about Alistar. Alistar offers a lot of zone protection in teamfights, which is very important if you have low range damage dealers. Obviously, Rek'Sai is a melee champion, and now Lucian with his low range as an AD carry. Having a strong front line built by Alistar and a Rek'Sai in this case really helps Lucian become a proper damage dealer in fights. It's always been his issue that these late game fights, there's too many things that can catch him and kill him. But this really helps, so that's also why I like that Alistar first pick, to create that front line instantly, knowing that, okay, we need to go for a different kind of AD carry compared to what we normally play in. Hello.
So, Graves and Vayne. Unless I'm mistaken, this should be the first Vayne of Europe 2016.
Yeah, and now we're gonna see...
Especially on a player who really struggled last week.
Yes, Saphir's biggest problem has honestly been in teamfights, understanding his positioning and when he could move in and deal damage and when he couldn't. He would often go in and then get caught out and die, or he would just sit too far back in the fight and not do any damage at all. So a lot of the damage from ROCCAT came from purely Betsy. But now, okay, we see a lot of, you know, flex picking, flying around. It's gonna be Poppy support, Graves as the top laner, and then Elise jungle. So ROCCAT is not really hiding that much because they're showing so much in the 2 first rotations, and they want a last pick mid lane, and none of these picks can go mid. So that one is still there. So Origen should know what the lanes are going to be. Graves top, Poppy support, Elise jungle.
So not big surprises from the side of ROCCAT. We'll need to see how well they execute, because last week left a lot to be desired as a squad. And as the timer runs down, Sven and Mithy will be the last 2 to lock in the Quinn and the Lulu. Quinn and Lulu can go both top and middle. We saw Faker running Quinn middle just yesterday, though it didn't work out all that great.
So Lissandra is open here for ROCCAT as a last pick, which is fine into Lulu. There's a lot of, I mean, Lulu again doesn't really beat anything necessarily in the laning phase, so it's very free for what Betsy wants to play. But obviously picking like a LeBlanc into Lulu is mainly for the laning phase and can be very annoying outside of lane, because again they're all the utility Lulu offers to deny you that one shot. But ROCCAT, I mean, what have they been building? You have pushing early on from the Graves, you have split pushing Vayne. You can go for another split pusher here, but then it's kind of odd who you're putting in the mid lane would be like Graves moving in there, so that doesn't work for them at all.
So who will it be? 5 seconds left on the clock for Betsy. He's going to decide on the lane impacting champion and run the Twisted Fate. So going to go for the map plays maybe will help out against the map pressure that Quinn will be able to put down.
It's a very interesting comp from ROCCAT.
Interesting front line. You expect the Elise to go tanky.
Well, I don't really see much of a front line here.
Poppy's going to be the disruption, but one misplay, one misposition.
Yeah, and your support,
they're done.
I mean, your support Poppy, you're never really going to be that tanky. Instead, what ROCCAT is doing here is saying, because we have Vayne, we don't have any wave clear at this point. Yes, okay, Graves can wave clear, and he's good at it, but he's sitting in a side lane. Again, when you see a TP champion, you expect him to sit side lane for most of the time as a top laner. So they get Twisted Fate, who's fantastic wave clear, obviously, in the mid lane itself. He also has the option to assist a Vayne in a split push.
Yeah.
If needed, so they can go 2v1 down against, being it Quinn, being it whoever Origen is sending. And also, Quinn is a champion that relies almost purely on being able to 1v1 and split push. Twisted Fate can shut that down very effective. Because when Quinn is looking for that 1v1 against Graves, against the Vayne, TF can join in. But only if Origen allows it by being very passive with the other members on the map, and his source is kind of going crazy on his own in a side lane, which shouldn't happen.
So let's find out how much freedom will Origen give ROCCAT. Because that's really going to determine this game. I'm excited to see.
Extinct looks very different.
Excited to see. He's lost a lot of color in his face.
Yeah.
As we see Origen loading up onto the Rift. Photo from their semi-final performance last year. Looking like a shade of their former selves thus far this year. But they got the opportunity to turn that around. 1-3 when facing the top of the table teams. 5 games left in the first half of the split, and it will be against mostly teams in the middle to bottom table and around them, in fact. So now they can start climbing themselves up if they can put together back-to-back wins.
It really is the important thing for some of the teams currently sitting in 3-1, where we look at, okay, they played Splice and Giants and ROCCAT, and then you look at Origen, who played H2K, Vitality, and Fnatic in the first 2 weeks. So basically the worst possible situation when you come in as a team who's not feeling ready. You get all the best teams in the start you have to play against, and everything really went downhill for Origen.
LCS hard mode,
Instant.
if you will. But we did see a lot more glimmers of hope for Origen during week 2. Better team fights, better positioning, it's better picks and bans, especially in comparison to week 1. But you cannot excuse the misplays that they had as well.
So ROCCAT now is making it very obvious they want a lane swap here. Vayne, Poppy is a difficult lane for them to play early on against a Lucian. At the same time, you also like to swap in against the Quinn to try and shut her down a little bit in the early game. But it's very telegraphed, obviously. So Origen can match it. There's no deep invade to spot what is happening. There's no tricks going on. Both teams are just going to meet on top side because Origen is matching the 2v2. Get Quinn in that 1v1. One funny thing, though, about this Graves-Quinn matchup, I actually think it's good for Graves early on because he will automatically push the wave and Quinn struggles to push it back. So you might see Freddy just constantly shove it into tower against Source, but once he gets a few levels, then Quinn can start trading back against him, and then it becomes fairly difficult.
We need to see how well Freddy's going to play on this champion as well. Because, of course, he's only the second person to play Graves top lane behind Caboshot here in Europe. And Graves predominantly seen as a jungler in this particular league. And the Australia lanes have matched up. So Freddy shoving Soaz in, catch Saphir and Extinct up in the top lane. A guy that we talked about already, how he's been around for a very, very long time in multiple roles. Coming to play support with an ADC that has been struggling in the 4 games that we've seen him play.
Again, a bit of the history for Extinct, if you look at where he was really in his prime, it was back in Season 2 when he was the mid laner for Curse EU. An absolute legend as well when they were called that. And he was one of the best mid laners we had in Europe, for sure.
Gonna go for the trade. Saphir's already low. Miffy knocking them away, and this means that Origen come away looking healthier than ROCCAT for the time being. Especially at these early stages, Vayne really needs some time and extended trades to win.
It's a problem for Poppy, is that you need your AD carry to be stronger 1v1 in early trades against the enemy AD carry. But Vayne is not stronger than Lucian in early trades, so Poppy either has to all in and risk exposing herself to a gank, overextend against an Alistar who will knock her back, or you have to just kind of sit next to your AD carry and just pat him on the shoulder and say, okay, you try and trade against him, I'm not really going to help you.
Good luck.
And that's what's going to happen in this lane for ROCCAT in the 2v2 because Lucian will out-trade. We talked about bot lane. We know Freddy's going to auto-push it. because he's playing Graves, I want to see ROC move around the bot lane side and the top side to make sure Freddy can keep pushing in and get tower damage down.
So Origen have got themselves lane pressure up top with Sven and Mithy. ROCCAT have got themselves lane pressure down bottom with Freddy shoving in Soaz. So it opens up different opportunities for both teams.
Oh, ROC hates this situation though. Because ROCCAT was setting up for a potential lane swap, he wanted to start on his weak side, that was his own blue buff, away from where the dual lane is going on top side, and then clear the jungle up there and then get up to top side where he's safe quickly and therefore just basically trade farm with Amazing. But because Origen obviously expected it and swapped top lane, ROC found himself starting on the side he wanted to end at. Because he wanted to start red and go blue and then be on the bottom side of the map. Get maximum farm then and then be strong and be able to do everything. But he started blue buff for the reasons we just stated. He then couldn't go top because he wanted to be on the bot side. And then Amazing walks in and takes away his red buff because his top lane is obviously losing, getting pushed into tower. So Mithy could roam and help him. And it's really annoying as a jungler when you want to be on one specific side but you're forced to start the other one because of a potential lane swap that it doesn't happen. And now you can see he's just been kind of wandering around a little bit. Will now get a few camps.
Yeah, slowly falling behind, as is this top lane. Extinct and Sven in a little bit of trouble. Mithy gets a two-man pulverize and Sven continues to trade aggressively. Look at that. Sven loses 200 hit points for a cumulative 400 to 500 of the ROCCAT duo.
Yeah, you can see the position of the lane is very bad for ROCCAT because now they can either get ganked or they can all in by Origen. So it has to respect it and back away. Wait for the wave to get near their own tower. Potion is used for Sapphire, so the next following trades is heavily in favor of Origen, and it's just about getting Vayne low enough, force her back to base.
Well, luckily, all the mobility moves are denied by having a Poppy in the game. Unfortunately, you cannot stop them pushing your tower down. Sapphire is so low, flash and heal is burned. And just the threat of Amazing plus Mithy means they're going to chunk this tower out.
ROCCAT almost has to just recall and then go bot lane with Sapphire and Extinct here. Surrender this lane up top and try and see if you can fast push in the bot lane, because the problem is this is going to keep happening over and over and over. The only way it can be good for them is if Freddy can do the same on the bottom lane. Tower has been taking 5-6% damage on bottom side, but the more level Source gets under his belt, the more effectively he can trade against the Graves. He can push it back at first, but now he will start doing more and more, get a few ranks in his queue to start pushing the wave, and it will even it out a little bit more.
Soaz also has access to his ultimate behind enemy lines, so going to jump onto Valor's back and roam very quickly. So ROCCAT have to be careful with how they position on the map.
So now that ROCCAT are keeping Sapphire on top side, I want to see a dive bot lane. I want to see Betsy, I want to see ROC, and I want to see Freddy together just dive Soaz, one-shot him. Land 1 CC and Graves will destroy you. Near wall, near tower, get that end of the line proc to go in with the first hit and the second hit coming back. Make an aggressive play on bot side. Just as we're talking about it, Origen is saying, well, that's probably going to happen. So how about we swap around and you don't get that 1v1 setup where you can gank Soaz and kill him.
So Soaz already shows his face in the middle lane. Goes for the Boots of Swiftness first. See how many times he can impact the lanes. Looking at the rest of the map, Sapphire and Extinct going to have a little bit of time to play up top, but it's BF Sword into Vamp Scepter if they meet again. Soaz is spending a lot of time here middle. Betsy, if he sticks around, when his CC comes in from Power of Evil, this could be problematic. The slow comes in from the vault, and now Soaz is sticking a little far forward. The cocoon into Gold Card means Soaz is down. He's holding on to his flash as Extinct is coming up. There's no access to Extinct ultimates yet. Soaz is going to flash over the wall, and Power of Evil, Gold Card into insta-cleanse. Now he's the one that's in trouble. Hammer Shot comes out as Mithy has been able to roam back. Soaz vaults over the wall. He finds Extinct. The cocoon connects with Mithy. Nobody has died yet. Mithy's looking forward as the exhaust comes down. Extinct slides and first blood to Power of Evil.
Miscommunication from ROCCAT. You saw Extinct flash E, knock Power of Evil into the wall. The rest of his team already turned around. They walk back towards the mid lane. Suddenly Poppy completely out of position. First spot for Origen. They punish ROCCAT for basically not having a clear call. Do we back? Do we go for the kill? And this is what happens so often when you have to swap in a new player. Also very unexpectedly, obviously. Suddenly you have only a few days to practice. And then you see calls like these go wrong.
Oh, Soaz, even though he gets stunned, still comes out in a better position. Just those double longswords and Dorans versus Sapphire. And this is what we were expecting. The two champions who can split push super effectively. eventually going toe-to-toe, but I didn't quite expect it this early.
No, again, it's because Origen knew that Source would die if he stayed bot lane 1v1. With a Twisted Fate, with Elise controlling that side of the map, it's just a matter of time before ROCCAT would go down and kill Source and then take the tower. So they're basically just trying to swap it around and keep him safe at the moment. Is behind in farm. Will probably continue being behind for quite a bit. Graves is also a good display pushing, just sitting inside lane, pushing in. Mithy being fought out.
Trouble. You can see Amazing. He's coming in with the Void Rush. There's some support from Power of Evil and a Wild Growth available. Extinct continues to run away, but he's been tagged by a very spooky-looking ghost. A flash forward. Extinct cannot interrupt that. And Amazing with a furious bite in the kill.
Amazing knowing that he's going to get interrupted if he tries to tunnel in towards him, so he instant flashes. Another kill, and again, it is ROCCAT being aggressive when they weren't supposed to. Crazy calls coming in, honestly, for the team. No ulti for Betsy at the moment. Extinct has died twice. Origen again swapping the lanes around, saying there's no chance of us getting killed at the moment. Swap it.
Swap it.
Swap it.
Swap it.
Swap it, man.
That's cool. Don't ever try Rat. Unfortunate for ROCCAT, their substitute Extinct not on the same page as everybody else. 0-2 for the time being. But he does have that, what was the term? Game-breaking ultimate. Quoting Deficio. Look at the damage onto Soaz. Freddy goes out with the collateral damage, but there's collateral as Origen have started to group. No flash from Amazing. Airwax has already flashed, as has Freddy. Full respect. They get away with their lives, but they lose their summoners as the cost.
Just want to rewatch that combo from Mithy. Just end up knocking Airwax. Oh, well, almost managed to get him with the combo. Didn't even try and space it and getting him to the wall. It was just full combo. Anyhow, for ROCCAT.
We're seeing that more and more, by the way. Those Alistair combos.
It was changed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little bit more difficult.
A few years of Alistair missile speed that is now reworked. And players
I also feel like we say that every time
we do.
See that.
I know. Why are we making excuses for these guys?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Let's stop it here, Deficio.
Good.
We decree no more excuses on the Alistair missile change speed.
Because that was, what, half a year ago?
Yeah. All right, that's our bad. That's our bad. We'll stop saying it.
I mean, sometimes you also just mess up the combo, and that happens.
Exactly, and that's what we should expect from now on.
Sometimes you think you can just knock the guy into the wall, stun him into the wall, and then Q him after, and then you knock him over the wall. It happens as well.
Oh, look at this.
Is level 5.
In so much trouble. There's no Unbreakable Will available. Sven's been surrounded. Freddy's come up as well. With no tower in the top lane, the global threat of Twisted Fate pays dividends. 2 kills. Look at that, 2k goldie as well.
Yeah, rest of Origen too far back on the map to do a whole lot. Quinn, though, is pushing bot side, so they might at least get some damage on these towers. Like, all these tier 1 towers are taking quite a bit of damage on ROCCAT's side. But that doesn't help Origen at the moment. So Origen are behind.
So, impressive play here from ROCCAT. Also want to mention that Airwax opted to go for the Runic Echoes on his enchant as opposed to tanky Elise. I want to see what he builds next. Just mention it because there is a very, very Keeper's verdict says, I want my tower. So as is thinking about setting up for a kill though, as now Mithy is looking for Freddy. Doesn't want to pick the fight though. He's going to be in trouble. And Valor's going to tag Extinct with Harrier, but the tower stands. So ROCCAT maintain their gold lead, Deficio.
Yeah, so again, very good play from ROCCAT before they realized, okay, Power of Evil's pushed back in mid lane. Soaz had quite some time before he could reach the bot lane tower as well. And then they see 2 guys overextend on top side with no tower. Easy for them to go up and gank it and then recall and go down and defend the tower. So ROCCAT right now is moving really well around the map. And just constantly getting side lane damage on towers, and Origen is always out of position to defend with Betsy. He has flash.
A little bit of trouble. There's no mana here for Power of Evil. Gold card will keep Amazing at bay, and Betsy's able to walk away. Cocoon finds Soaz, and it turns out spiders can eat birds as he's forced to run backwards. Hops over the wall to the dragon, and he's going to get away with his life. So ROCCAT, very, very intelligent play. They've defended their towers. They've taken down 2 of Origen's, and they've backed up, but got to be a little careful. Mithy's got access to his ultimate now. Freddy's low on mana as well.
Well, ROCCAT is constantly always having at least one guy as backup whenever they make a play, they have already moved around and put Extinct now on top side, so he could defend with Freddy in the 2v2, because then they could make a play on bot side and get tower and not trade towers. Amazing now. Take some damage.
Yeah, not the most
Not
exciting.
really a lot happening from it.
Donates 5 gold over to Airwax as he clears out that tunnel. AoE. Just regenerating that mana. Good little odds.
Betsy going for the maximum movement speed build. Boots of Swiftness, of course, as we see so often in the current meta. Alacrity enchant. He's probably going to go Lich Bane second item as well, giving even more movement speed. And he's just going to be able to chase down these long lanes, because ROCCAT has put so much value on taking down these early tier 1 towers and side lanes to get the lane to be a lot longer. That's obviously what Twisted Fate benefits from. When you have to push all the way out with no tower behind you, he will appear and he will run you down and he will kill you. It's basically Liam Neeson.
Liam.
Ah, Liam! No! So close. I guess he's called Liam somewhere.
In Denmark, evidently.
Actually, yeah, I believe he is.
I quite like, it's a good comparison. Betsy is Liam Neeson, so to go with his incredible positive stats, he's also a semi-superhero and a dead Jedi, if you will.
Spoiler.
But for the time being, Betsy has got that Destiny available, and we need to see if Origen will give freedom. Now, this is what you'd actually mentioned in Picks and Bans, Fisher, is that in order for the Twisted Fate to combo to work, Origen have to give ROCCAT the freedom, have to give them the space to make the play. And for the time being, Origen are only exposed to this bottom half of the map. You can see Soaz getting some vision with those heightened sensors and taking the first tower of the game.
Again, we're going to see Betsy just remain in mid lane, because he's the main wave clear. And as long as you control mid lane, you can then start controlling the side lanes. Airwax is coming in for Sven. He's all alone here.
He is alone. The flash comes out, but the cocoon still hits. Wild cards and red card to secure it. No ultimate required.
So basically, ROCCAT had pushing in top lane. They took over the jungle. They move in behind with Airwax. There's no vision for Origen. Amazing is running in.
Here comes Soaz. He's tagged up Airwax. Airwax flies into the air before he flies back to base on the wings of Soaz's auto attack.
So Freddy's still bot lane. He's running away now. Saphir?
Oh, you're in trouble. Why are you there, man? You do not want to be here. An aggressive play from Power of Evil. He flashed for the knockup. A flash from Miffy as he finds the connect and secures the kill with the trample.
So it looked very, very good for ROCCAT. I like that play. You have a look at the pink ward on your minimap behind that enemy mid tower tier 1. That was what Airwax used to sneak in behind. Sven didn't expect it. He dies. And then, sadly, ROCCAT stays for a little bit too long, and Origen moves in and gets 2 kills. Still, we're seeing a lot of good moves here from ROCCAT. I like how aggressive they're playing on the map. Betsy has ulti ready. Let's look at flashes on the side of Origen. Only Source has a flash ready, so wait for one guy to overextend in the lane, and Betsy will be there.
Watching, waiting.
Watching.
He will find him. Betsy will kill him.
Can't believe we called him
Lion.
Liam. That's a better name, brother.
It is. It sounds much more intimidating. But for ROCCAT, it's all about the map play. For Origen, it's all about punishing the misplays. Because the kills they've been able to secure thus far has been ROCCAT out of position, with Extinct not on the same page, or Sapphire running through a jungle where he really should not have been.
Origen is very much in the same position Giants were in the last game, where you're not looking to get 1v1s off at the moment, because then Betsy can join a Freddy or Vayne, or so Sapphire sitting in the side lanes, plus Betsy, obviously Source is going to lose that one. So instead, you're actually looking to have that 4-man group of Mythy, Sven, Power of Evil, and Amazing together, pushing up one lane, move as a group, and force ROCCAT to go back and defend there. If that doesn't happen, if ROCCAT is allowed to push up the side lanes first, with Graves, with the Vayne, then it's too easy for Betsy to just wave clear mid, and then just join in on the side lane and pick whichever one he wants.
I think it's important to note the items that Origen have picked up. Despite the fact they're being pushed in, they've got quite a lot of power. Luden's Echo, Ghostblade, Essence Reaver. Betsy and the rest of ROCCAT are going to force the last outer turret down and maintain their gold lead. And for Origen, Soaz is now thinking about pushing forward. That could be a step too far. I think he realizes that. Trying to stay out of vision until Betsy pops that ulti.
Betsy close to the Lich Bane will be a big spike for him. Again, he's building so much movement speed. He's going to have so much burst, honestly, as soon as he lands. Source now into the mid is what you will
This is
do.
out of
Quinn.
position. This is scary. Look at the surround and the support.
Why is he mid?
There's a gold card, and Soaz is caught. He's got a flash available, won't get to use it.
That was the most random roam I've seen.
He wanted the tower.
Alone. The rest of his team is either top lane or back in base.
So misplay from Soaz. It does allow Sven to take the top outer turret, maintains the goal deficit at 1,000. And the rest of ROCCAT are currently grouped up, despite not having the fan vote behind them. They are in control, and now Betsy wants to run down Sven.
Ow, come on.
That was an interesting ulti. Fortunately for Betsy, he does not secure the kill.
So, before Swords went mid, not sure why, ends up dying. Only good thing for Origen there, well, two good things actually. They got top tower, which was very low, but they got to take it down and got to get some of the gold from it. And also Freddy used his teleport. That will slow down the way ROCCAT wants to play the 1-3-1, because now Betsy's the guy going to the side lane. He's now all alone.
Well, he can run very, very quickly.
Not a lot of damage here though.
No.
From Origen. They would have to use Source TP and there was no... I mean, they could just place a ward, I guess.
I also think it's important to note that Safia's had the better part of 10 minutes alone to farm. He's got himself 170 CS, sitting on 1,500 gold, in addition to the Blade of the Ruin King and 2 long swords, attack speed daggers. So he's going to get to a point where he can get a few items under his belt. And you know, the longer this game goes, the scarier a Vayne can become. We need to see how Safia can handle that Vayne.
Technically, all ROCCAT has to do is only play against minions. You just want to keep pushing down minions over and over, and if you feel like you have a chance of taking a 1v1, you don't. Because you want to make sure Betsy's there, and it's always a 2v1 in your favor. That's why you have a Twisted Fate in this case. That's why you also want this TP back to Freddy, so he's the guy sitting in the side lane, and you can join in. So as long as ROCCAT doesn't risk anything at this point, wait for that TP to come back, then start pushing every single lane again and allow Betsy to be the carry, they will be more than fine. But it does buy a little bit of time for Origen now. The problem is they have fallen behind. Betsy has been getting some items to wave clear. So this 4-man group is very difficult for Origen to pull off at the moment.
See if they can get the time to make it work, another Fisher. We've just gone over 20 minutes in the game.
Source should go bot here. Source needs to catch the waves also before they get pushed too far down. Otherwise, you're gonna see it's too easy for ROCCAT to push down 2 side lanes and then stop Origen from ever grouping. If Source can meet the waves a little bit quicker and then instantly just back away before anyone is there from ROCCAT side, he will be okay.
Instead, 5-man group.
Well, this again is okay as well, because this is what we talked about, how Origen wants to group together. Because now you force ROCCAT to send Vayne in towards mid lane and team fight, and here's the fight.
2-man knockup from the pulverized of Miffy. He does have Unbreakable Will, and it is not broken yet. Extinct's been bursted low, and Safia's locked out of the fight. He's been zoned away from the front line. Amazing is taking a burst as Safia tries to chase him down. Destiny is being channeled by Betsy. He's looking for the flank, throws out the wild cards. Another aggressive flash from Power of Evil for nothing.
But again, we went from playing 3 lanes to play A-Ramp. Basically, every single member is mid, and here's a kill.
Airwax is caught out. He's repelled up in the air. Freddy's looking forward. There's no collateral damage to secure the kill, and nobody has died yet. The only flashes remaining on Origen's side are with Soaz and Sven. And ROCCAT, they chased after being engaged on.
Origen made the commitment and said, now it's time. Finally, we have a chance where ROCCAT is not pushing every lane. We can now go mid and force a fight. And you saw Mithy just flashed in instantly. They just want to force team fights together. Use Lulu, use Alistar, and how strong the Iron 5 versus 5, and this should be a tower as well.
So tower will be secured for Origen. They are now touching distance as far as gold is concerned. Soaz has gone down to the bottom lane to catch that wave and force it back, while another wave is going to get met by Power of Evil in the top half of the map, I assume. But for the time being, that was a good, confident play from Origen that is clawing their way back into this game.
That was their big play though, and now they've all been forced back to base, so now the tempo from Origen is down, because they're all running out of the bases. They're trying to push out these waves on the side lanes. This is ROCCAT's time now to set up this 1-3-1 again. The problem is Safia stayed, because I think he just needed like a little bit extra gold to get his rapid fire cannon. If he had recalled with the rest of his team, he would already be in position to meet that wave once he gets pushed back by Sven, and they can apply that split push pressure. Now they are giving Origen time. You can see Origen is back now on the map. They're back in the mid lane to push it back out. And now they're gonna meet Freddy on the bot side as well.
And I also think you have to highlight another time that Saphir's been in the wings of a team fight, coming in from that river. Not the right place, not the right time. You cannot afford that on Vayne. Cannot afford to be...
And he should be sitting top now. Or actually, Freddy should be sitting top if you want to contest the Dragon. But if you want to have... Actually, you know what? You want Baron control more than Dragon.
Okay,
Screw the Dragon.
so where should he sit?
Freddy should sit bot lane because he has TP. Saphir should sit top and have that wave, because if anyone tries to duel him 1v1, you can kill him with the Twist of Fate. Origen now has a chance of potentially getting another team fight because ROCCAT is only playing 2 lanes and they have TP and SOAS.
ROCCAT, though, are playing a little defensive. The moment they saw resistance from Origen, they've backed away, gone through the jungle. I'm going to shove this wave in middle. SOAS is pushing very, very far, and ROCCAT are starting to peel away. If SOAS doesn't back soon, he could be at risk of being run down. There's a Destiny available for Betsy. Behind enemy lines is channeled. SOAS can move very, very quickly, but you're not quicker than a teleport. SOAS is looking for a way out.
Rest of Origen can go mid here. Rest of Origen should just group mid, push up for that tier 2 tower. They
There's
might even
support!
beat SOAS.
And Saphir's in trouble! Look at Origen, they're coming from behind! Power of Evil with the Glitterlance gets the kill! Now SOAS is pinned against the wall as the wild growth makes him a gigantic bird! He flashes away for safety. Amazing will be the sacrificial queen of the Xur side. The collateral damage is not enough as the shield from Lulu keeps him alive. SOAS flashes over the wall and the Raptor eats all of the culling. 2 kills for Origen.
ROCCAT gave SOAS only 1 kill still.
Damn it, I got so excited!
ROCCAT gave SOAS a very long lane as a Quinn, so he can use his mobility so well, because ROCCAT was so tunnel on playing around 2 lanes only. You saw Origen could defend it, potentially set up a fight. ROCCAT's here were the ones being very greedy. Meet that wave top way earlier. Push it back down. Doesn't even matter if you use Graves or Vayne almost. Anyway, you can see how Origen on your minimap is just rushing up mid lane because Swords bought so much time. And ROCCAT just chased him all the way down. This is what Quinn wants to do. Give her a massively long lane. Ganking her is so difficult. So you want to fight her first. And then TF joins in. But then she's locked in place. There's no ulti from Quinn when she's fighting.
So he's almost killed by that volatile spiderling before Origen got themselves a kill. Get themselves their first dragon of the game and the gold lead for the first time. I think this match, if not 20 plus minutes. Dragon control secured, which means the only big objective will then be Baron. And we actually saw a repel up there from Airwax in a little bit of trouble as the rest of Origen have grouped up. Teleport's still available for SOAS, but it is not for Freddy.
Yeah, Freddy used it again trying to join the fight, and now, there we go. You fight SOAS, then you can go down with Twist of Fate.
SOAS is going to try run away. End of the line will be available. Collateral secures the kill. And Freddy, with the assistance of Betsy, take down SOAS.
And just such a big difference. You don't use that much time. You don't chase him around the map. SOAS this time overextended and shouldn't have done. Sven was running from base. Again, you always gotta respect the fact that when you play against globals, you always need map pressure before you can ever overextend. Because if you do it without your team being in a position to punish the enemy team for sending 2 guys or 3 guys to 1 lane, you just give them a free kill. Nothing else. Sven was running from base, the rest of Origen was sitting back. ROCCAT picks up an easy kill.
So Sven now looking forward. He's going to sidestep the Cocoon. Mithy does have a flash available if ROCCAT continue to group up. That's a flash engage. Extinct is knocked up into the air as Mithy is then pinned against the wall. They will run down Extinct. That's the first kill. Sven flashes forward. He had the Lulu move speed to chase Airwax all the way. Now on the other side of the map, there was a trade going on. SOAS is looking to chase Freddy. Has used the Ghost Blade and was thinking to call in Valor for some assistance. Decides against it, and Freddy makes that alive. But Betsy will get the tower.
Yeah, Origen started Baron here. Betsy didn't get the mid tower because he has to go in here and stop this Source of Teleport coming in. Freddy has no TP, so this is only 3 guys from ROCCAT.
Now let's find out. Mithy's in a little bit of trouble with Sven. He's got so much damage. Betsy finds a gold card onto SOAS, and Wild Growth is used to save his life. The Baron's been stopped, but it will cost Saphir's life. The tower is secured down bottom, and Sven, he is running. He is flinging light at Betsy. The gold card stuns him under the wall. The Baron was stopped, and Freddy is continuing to push. He should be backing soon, though.
Sven failed his Captain Jack move here. QSS a little bit too early, just before the gold card hit him. He ended up getting stunned anyway. Freddy gets bot tower. Origen got a few more kills. We're almost dead even in gold at this point. And a bit like the last game, we see one team who wants to avoid these 1v1s in side lanes, but they sometimes get baited into it, they get a little bit too greedy. But once they start grouping mid, grouping as a team, they can start forcing plays. And even though they might be slightly behind in goal at that point, the team fight when you have Lulu and Alistar is just so powerful. But they add very little value if it's constantly 1v1 and 2v2 in these side lanes here. Only add value when they're together as a team.
Both ROCCAT and Origen have shown that they can use their team comps effectively. We've seen good picks, we've seen good punishes, punishing over extension, punishing a team fight or a dive. But we've reset. We've now hit 30 minutes on the clock, and it's gone back to this pressure game, the swing in momentum. Sven is going to have the Lulu-empowered auto attacks and bursts down Freddy to less than half health. Cocoon will stop him in his tracks, though, and ROCCAT are able to disengage. So there's a lot of damage on this Lucian.
Yeah, we get closer and closer to that Lucian hyper carry point he hits if he has a Lulu to back him up. Because again, late game, he has so much damage if he can play aggressive. If he can use, or if he can't get punished by the fact he has 500 range, because he has protection, he has extra mobility from a Lulu, he has the zone from an Alistar, then you're setting up Lucian to be the big carry. We've seen Bang from SKT do it time and time again. Sven can do the same, and he's looking to do the same.
Gold card.
First,
QSS comes
gets
out.
a little bit too confident.
There's too much damage coming down. Look at Betsy. He's going into the Raptor camp. Gold card is primed. Does not find a very good target, though, and will finally throw it out. It finds Mythic as the Unbreakable Will has been used. Amazing's coming in from the back line, and he will get knocked away. Steadfast Presence was already used. Now Betsy is in trouble. He's knocked up into the air twice as Amazing flash forward to follow it up, but Betsy stays alive. Freddy's the first victim as he's killed by Sven's auto attacks. The culling is firing away, making extinct. Sapphire gets dropped for the triple kill for Sven.
We have seen this before here. Lucian gets to team fight, protected by Lulu, buffed up. Sven is becoming the big carry for Origen. ROCCAT had some good moves early on in the game where they managed to get these fights in the side lanes, but then they start dropping the ball. They get greedy, you know. They want to say, we just go for one lane, we just go for 2 lanes only. And that's too easy for Origen to defend against and then force a potential team fight. And the last 3-4 minutes has just been fights for Origen around Baron, around enemy tower, and that is setting Sven up to be the carry.
So let's take a look again at this replay. Sven immediately bursting Sophia down before being forced away.
Yeah, a little bit too aggressive at first for him using the QSS, but then let's see the chase in for ROCCAT. As a unit here, ROCCAT is not very strong in team fights. You can see Sapphire, how afraid he is to get close with Vayne to deal any damage. Betsy doesn't find a target. And now, again, Sven has hit full HP. He's getting buffed up by Lulu. Mithy's fine, almost sacrificing himself just to get Betsy down. And then it's just Lucian time.
Really good cleanup. And of course, the Cocoon not finding its mark from AOX. The gold card not finding a target for Betsy, because they can't chase it down. Sven very confidently playing on the front foot. Gonna have all the shields from Power of Evil, who, by the way, is using his flash on cooldown every single cooldown. Unlike last week's, it's good to see some aggressive, positive plays when the fights break out. Tower will be focused and dropped here from Origen, and they continue to accelerate ahead. Plus 4,000 gold now.
And it's really gonna pay off now here late game that Power of Evil has taken Cleanse as his dominant spell, because normally if you play against a comp like this, targeting the Lucian can be too difficult because of all the protection he has. So you try and stun the Lulu, see if you can take her down or stun her while you then go for the AD carry. Cleanse obviously completely removes that fact. For Power of Evil, he can always protect Sven. He's going in again.
He really is. Peck is going to be smiling as that inhibitor drops. Sven's going to back away, continuing to get the shield, the life steal. The QSS hasn't even been used, and he's still got both summoner spells. Origen take the first inhibitor within seconds, it feels, of securing that Baron. Just such great play, and so as with teleports available, he's going to continue to push out that map. Plays safely this time. Doesn't run the risk of being caught out from behind.
And we see this so often with the split pushing comps, how once we hit late game, it becomes very hard for them to play split push. You get forced into team fights. There's too many ways for us to start fights.
And there is a team fight. 2-man knockup onto Airwax and Freddy. Extinct did not find the pin against the wall, and a keeper's verdict is still being held onto. Sven is forced Airwax away, and Saphir gets chunked down. So as isn't even here. This is a 4v5 with Baron buff that Origen have just won convincingly. Another tower will fall, And Origen are accelerating the gold lead. They were down 3,000 gold at one point to be up 7,000. Tower number 8 falls. Tower number 9 will follow shortly. And ROCCAT are falling apart at the seams. They've got themselves 1 kill onto Soaz.
And they have to go further now. ROCCAT just needs to force a fight. It's 5 versus 4. But I think it's too difficult. There's too much disengage from Origen now. They're already backing away. Soaz bought enough time just pushing the bottom lane.
Damage is done, Deficio. 2 inhibitors down with this Baron buff already. A third one has been exposed. Destiny's been used from Betsy. So no counterplay available for the next minute or two. And Origen in absolute control of the game. Spending several thousand gold each after that final, previous push. Which could be the final push.
4-item Lucian with a Lulu, with an Alistar. ROCCAT has a composition that doesn't do well in team fights. We're gonna have to see a massive mistake from Sven. Like, he has to go super greedy, gets killed, even through his QSS, his BT shield, whatever Lulu offers. Because Origen at this point will never split up. This 4-man group we highlighted so much in the early game, how they needed to use that 4-man group to buy time for Sven to be that late game carry, has just been running together for honestly the last, what, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
And just been getting everything. Soaz is just here being annoying, honestly. He's just in a silent being annoying. Now he can join his team because there's nothing else to push. But just keep looking at Sven.
Wow.
Betsy has to force his QSS, and then on the next engage, they have to try and take him down.
Gold card's been used. There was a knock-up in the backline, though. Now Mithy's continuing to push forward. Extinct is the first target to fall. Power of Evil gets the kill credit. The rest of ROCCAT, they're running for their lives. And Origen have got super minions for days. They take down the first Nexus turret. Will follow shortly onto the second. The QSS has been used. Soaz is looking for Betsy. Help picks will allow those auto attacks to deal more damage. But Origen destroy ROCCAT's Nexus.
They had to fight for it, because ROCCAT had a very good start to this game. And honestly, Origen disrespecting, I think, a little bit what could happen in the side lanes with the Twisted Fate sitting mid. But once Origen realized they are back in base, you know, they haven't pushed up the lane yet, let's group, let's just force our way through mid lane. Myth even flashed on the tower just instantly to start a fight. They just wanted to start a team fight. And once that happened, by just brute forcing mid lane, the way you shut down split push, they managed to pick up the kills.
Great to see some support there on stage with and Extinct giving each other a big hug. There's a lot of history between Extinct and the guys on the stage. And for ROCCAT, it's a difficult situation coming in with a sub. For Origen, much more confident play, I feel. Like Sven on that front line was really crazy. Playing on the absolute edges of safety and security. But he got away with it most of the time thanks to the support that both Mythy and Power of Evil gave him.
Yeah, I mean, that's what your composition does, right? And you need an AD carry who can be very aggressive to make this Lucian work in the late game. But it took a lot of time getting there.
Yeah.
And we still see some mistakes this Origen team didn't normally make.
Yeah.
We're still seeing it get better and better.
Especially when you consider the amount of experience that the team like Origen has in terms of split pushing. Soaz in particular, one of the godfathers of split push top laners.
It's just so hard in the moment.
Out.
It's just so difficult in the moment, especially once you start falling behind on the map. You feel like every play you can make, someone is like, no, it's too risky. I'm like, we can't do that. They will just take tower or whatever. Like, there's always someone feeling like you can't go for it. And that's honestly just because ROCCAT played well in the start.
Yeah.
And once Origen figured out, maybe we don't fight them 1v1, and Betsy joins in and kills us. It obviously looked a lot better, but it takes time. It's very difficult to do in-game. I like what we saw from the team, though, the last 20 minutes, especially because Sven is really stepping up, and he's getting close to that level we saw from him last year.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And I also think for, both squads, they played their team compositions relatively well. It's nice to see some diversity in those picks and bans, and hopefully we'll continue to see them. For now, we're going to head on stage with Pyra to talk about Origen's win.
Thank you very much, Quick Shot. I am joined by the whimsical mid laner of Origen. It is Power of Evil. Power, congrats on your win. Thanks. but it was far from clean. I got to ask you, what are you guys doing really to work on what we've seen a little bit of sloppy communication over the last couple weeks?
Well, so we still need to like kind of get used to the new patch. We need to adapt. I think we are quite slow in adapting to this new patch, so that might be an issue. But I think we are on a good path. And this game in particular was the Twisted Fate was a huge problem. He had a lot of map pressure, and with the side lanes having no auto turrets, it's really easy for him to get catches, especially against Scrin, who is supposed to like split push all the time and trying to get catches in the mid lane and crew up as 5-man group.
But you managed to do it in the end. So, talking about your play in particular, you had a fantastic score on that Lulu, 3-0-9, 100% kill participation. We also saw your Oriana not do too bad, even if you didn't get that win last week. And I want to know, you moving to more utility mages, is this something that is what you're making a decision to do, or what the team really wants you to do?
Well, to be honest, it depends on a lot of like different stuff. There are a lot of different reasons when to pick which champion and which champion to like practice at all. So I think in particular I'm playing kind of actually assassins as well, but it's always like in this game, what do I think is the best? What is best in the team composition? What's the best in the enemy team composition? So you can't really say this and this is like really strong or really OP. I think it always depends on a lot of different stuff, and you just need to like be able to like pick them, so your team doesn't kind of rely on you having only like 3 champions. So I'm always trying to keep my champion pool big, so my team can kind of choose, we go for this champion or we go for the other one, and it's working out good.
It is nice to see you adapt and grow as a player. Now, Origen will face off against Elements tomorrow. You had a good start to this week. Is this where it all starts turning around for Origen?
I think we had a rough start, as you already said, but I think the next weeks I think we are on a good path, as I said before already. So I think we can maybe even go for a 2-0 this week and then be on the right path for the next weeks.
Well, thank you very much for joining me, Power. And now we are going to send it back to the analyst desk to break down Origen's victory.
Thank you very much, Pyrotechnics and Power of Evil. Let's talk a little bit about what he mentioned there. Still adjusting to the patches, what was echoed by Soaz, by the rest of the team, by Power of Evil. We do know that patch 6.2 dropped this morning for us, at least. That might come into play sooner or later. I'm starting to think that might not be a fast enough adjustment time for a pro team.
Yeah, but I don't think it's this patch in particular, but it's just you know, the new meta, the new vision changes. Because in general, because 5.24 was out for ages and not too much changed into 6.1. And then 6.2, there will be some changes there again. But I just think it's a different playstyle. The games are shorter. Origen last season kind of had this, you know, we'll just wait, comfortably play the game, and then we'll group up and just outplay you that way. I don't think that style is as prevalent anymore, and they just need to change. So regardless of patch, I just think it's an entire playstyle shift that they're working through.
We saw the kind of the return of that playstyle, though, as soon as Sven was like, okay, this is my time. I've got the Bloodthirster, we've got the Lulu. He's like, okay, now I'm confident. I'm just going to always go forward.
Yeah.
Always be playing forward. And finally they hit that point where it's like, oh, this is the Origen that we actually saw last year start, you know, messing teams around, but it was very, very slow.
Yeah, I think we always knew that they could play like the 4-item 80 carry Lulu composition because Sven's just a beast or a baller, but the problem is they don't get there too often anymore. Lulu is very often banned and picked away, or they just do really dumb mistakes where the biggest team fights they lost in passing weeks is where Sven ran to farm and the rest fought without him. Like when they're fighting with Sven, by all means, Origen is a great team. They just didn't really have that happen every time.
Well, in this game also specifically, they had a strong early game. They got that first blood. They got that reactive second blood. Yet Betsy, again, with a strong performance, getting picks off here and there. But as you mentioned, it is that 4-item 80 carry coming into play. Let's take a look at some of the plays from Sven. And it reminded me a lot seeing him play that way of the summer finals, actually, what I think was a peak of Origen's play. It was also with Lulu, but then not with Lucian. And you just see how comfortable he is with that protection.
I mean, you just have a lot of room for error, right? So you can dodge aggressively, you can dash aggressively and use your gap closer to really get the double auto F every time. And then, you know, if Miffy's on something like Alistar and he did a lot of good combos, you have Power of Evil just spamming the shields on every rotation, and you have a QSS at your disposal, it gives you just so much freedom, and it's so hard to play against. Especially Saphir couldn't do anything this game because his range just wasn't long enough. By the time he could start his first auto attack, there was already an E auto Q combo in his face, and he was already losing the trade. On top of Lucian, they got Wild Growth.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of my most frustrating things to watch of, was coming out of picks and bans with this Vayne pick. I'm like, okay, Saphir, didn't really see too much from this. He has played Scalers in Challenger, but this game he was just so afraid to do anything. He got Flame Horizons and was 110 CS down by the end of this game. 0 kills, 4 deaths, and 2 assists. Just couldn't get in the fights.
It only works if you snowball the early game and you use them as a split pusher, and then you get to TF to a point where you can comfortably clean the mid waves, so Origen just dies to split. That's the counter to a Lulu teamfight composition. You'll never beat it 5v5 if the team drafting it knows what they're doing, so you really want to 1-3-1, but ROCCAT was never in a position to execute that, or not even execute it properly even then. So then, of course, late game, 4-item Lucian with QSS is going to wreck your whole team.
Absolutely devastating from the side of Niels. And a win on the board for OG. We need to take a break as G2 and Fnatic gear up for our next match. And earlier, we asked you what element of macro strategy was most important in the current metagame. And Eric Deruda tweeted, the lane swap seems important at the moment. I've seen teams lose games off the back of bad one. Fnatic last week, for instance. And we'll be right back as Crepo is going to take a closer look at lane swaps, both good and bad. So stay with us.
It's like a 70% so can you join scrim rate.
No, best part is when you invite him for duo. I invite him to duo, he's like, I'm gonna accept, and he accepts like 30 seconds late, and he just selected role, and then goes back to his old undergame, you know, and I have to wait another minute. I'm like, dude, this is not how it works.
Nobody has died yet! Mythy's looking forward as the exhaust comes down. Extinct slides and first blood to Power of Evil!
Debate no more.
Nice. We're walking in there. We're gonna be there too. TP there. We can fight. Wait for Lucian. Let's go.
Freddy's the first victim as he's killed by Sven's auto attacks. The culling is firing away, making extinct. Origen destroy ROCCAT's Nexus.